For as long as you can remember, media have been present in our day-to-day life. They have by far colonized the entertainment industry, and still today they are probably the most enjoyable activity one could consume. Unfortunately, just as every human creation, they're not perfect. They can portray many issues. And even if as a category it's very vast, maybe it's not for everyone. So yes, even these arts, which had ages to improve, still contains many flaws. And thinking about flawed, let's talk about the elitist brain. Take this video almost as a zoo trip, because even if I don't want to be too rude, I can't help but associate media elitists with animals of a different species. Like no, for real, these guys needs to be studied. And that's why I'm here today, to fulfill the curiosity which probably pushed you into clicking on this video. Alongside with Musashi, obviously. I mean, look how cool he is. But before diving deeper, we need to be sure that we are all on the same level. Therefore, let me ask you, what is an elitist? When reasoning with media, the figure of an elitist is deeply correlated with certain characteristics, futures, attitudes, and of course different works of fiction. All of these are more simply organized in what our TikTok brain will call starter pack. Of course, inside these individual pockets you can miss different exclamations such as overrated, consume more media, and 3 out of 10 rich bait, to attribute at any given occasion to belittle any opinion that doesn't make them happy. The brain can fathom the meaning of different takes, sorry. And what about their tendency to get extremely worked up whenever you mention anything with more than 30 fans? For example, don't even think to contradict them when they affirm that the tribe-made song they pull out of their ass is better than the Radiohead discography, if you care about your time at least. Oh, and I also almost forgot their stubborn gatekeeping habit. No, wait, actually, let's not mention it. I hold dear my mental sanity. So, starter pack apart, how can you briefly define the elitist entity in our society? Well, I think the right answer is that there are someone who decided to rely on their poorly faked media taste to feel superior, exploiting their TikTok niche knowledge as a status symbol to look down on mainstream works. However, if you have been around the circle for quite some time, you probably agree that they haven't been here forever, at least not in the quantity of these days. Thus, we can assume that there was a period where it was all sunshine and rainbow. Nah, probably not the case, but still, I'm sure it was better than now. And this attracts my curiosity. Where, when, and why did it all went wrong? I know I've said that if you were here for quite some time, you could remember of times where 80s weren't a real deal. And don't worry, I still hold on that take. However, to find the birthplace of elitism online, we need to travel back at the dawn of the internet, where a study predicted the eventual formation of elitist niche and their impact on media. Yes, I'm just as shocked as you to find out that 1997 Elitist Will Kill Online Media study by Wired anticipated by more than a decade these events. The correlation that the study did was that when the internet became a thing, very few skilled individuals could access it. Consequently, this made them feel pleased. Being able to put their hands on something with such a potential felt unreal, and also resulted in the pioneers to overestimate their capabilities and taste. Therefore, they became pretty unlikable, to say the least. But what concerned the creators the most is the fear that these people could drive away potential new users, setting a limit to the internet. The comparison now becomes crystal clear. The internet's rise obviously wasn't stopped by this occurrence, but this is thanks to how big of a thing it is. Instead, can we say the same for a simple show? Do you think that with the infinite variety of choice, people will launch themselves on the niche ones, especially if they get kept by some chronically online zombie? Not a chance, right? And this is exactly the scenario that the study tried to warn us about. Sadly, we didn't listen. With the web's inevitable breakthrough in mainstream at lead, the rise of fandom followed. A group of people across the globe united virtually to share their passion and interest. It feels so normal as today, but I can't imagine how crazy it was at the time being. But unfortunately, alongside them, another problem kept on growing. I've already mentioned it a few times, and I'll keep doing so since when talking about elitists, you can't absolutely forget gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is an issue that presents itself only as some people trying to make private something that's public, as by definition is the activity of control access to something while discouraging other participants. However, that's just the peak of the iceberg. The root of our topic reaches way below what we can see in human psychology. Even though we, as humans, have a tendency to share a lot between ourselves, it happens that when certain conditions are met, we decide instead to ward off others from our enjoyment. These conditions are mostly only true, but they have to fall right into place if we want the magic to happen. The first is that what we're consuming has to be good. I mean, no one would ever rent a girlfriend, for example. And the other condition is that when you manage to put your hands on the media, it has to be in a moment where either it's hard to access for anyone, for example, it only got released in your country, or the most common one. Few people know about it, defining the media as what we will call underrated. This is when our psyche clicks in. When this event takes place, our brain loves it, and it creates some sort of cultural identity, and nobody likes when you get stolen of your identity. However, I'm not trying to justify them painting the broken hero characters, because what they fail to realize is that what they think now became their identity never was entirely theirs in the first place, and sharing it with others won't make you less original. I mean, who cares? You didn't create the show, you just enjoyed it, so it is part of you, but that matters only if you can share it with others. To wrap up all of this, I'd like to use an example from Monster, where they talk about the story of, as I said, a monster that went around the world eating people to get a beautiful name. However, once he was satisfied, he had already ate all of the population, therefore there was nobody to call him by his name. Now, if the presence of elites in communities were to be only a distant matter, we wouldn't be talking about them. Instead, we are here because it is a problem that affects us as well. The question is, how? Elitism in media doesn't just create minor friction, it reshapes how people interact with culture and with each other. One of the first problems is exclusion. Instead of welcoming curiosity, elitists judge newcomers harshly, dismissing them as fake fans or unworthy participants. This exclusion fractures communities, dividing people into insiders and outsiders, and discouraging many from joining at all. Next comes toxicity. When superiority becomes the default tone, conversations shift away from appreciation and toward competition. Debates aren't about ideas or interpretation, but about proving who is smarter, more cultured, or more legitimate. This toxic environment can push people out of fandom entirely, stripping away what could have been a supportive and creative spaces. Elitism also leads to a loss of diversity. By elevating certain works, often niche, obscure, or high art, and dismissing anything mainstream, elitist culture silences broad voices and narrows the scope of what gets discussed. This reduces the richness of cultural discourse, since different perspectives and tastes are treated as less valuable or even invalid. For creators, elitism creates pressure. Instead of making work that is accessible, heartfelt, or experimental, creators may feel forced to meet the narrow expectations of elitist audiences in order to be taken seriously. This stifles creativity, discourages innovation, and ultimately limits the variety of media that gets produced. Altogether, elitism undermines inclusivity, poisons discussion, pressures creators, and turns the act of enjoying art into a performance of superiority. Instead of bringing people together to shared passion, elitism divides, isolates, and ultimately drains the vitality from cultural communities. Okay, this was a lot, but we still aren't aware of what me and you should do. As consumer, enjoyer, how do we approach the solution? First and foremost, obviously don't even try to discuss with them. Don't waste your time, and especially don't give them a way to insert their damaged belief within you. and overall just avoid them in general. But if you want to go a step further, welcome newbie in your community. For each gatekeeper, make sure to double the worth with which you receive new member. But if you take away something from this video, make sure that is this. Art is not your private property. It's one of the few things that kept humanity together, so don't absolutely, for no reason, become an elitist and break this bond. If you are right here, then let me thank you, and if you want, leave a like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. Thanks for watching.